minute here because, like I said, Zoom.
See, and I've been trying to figure out how to do this because I'd like to get on Twitch with my sister, actually.
Yeah. Or we can talk about that if we want. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta get to the point here. Oh, maybe it's just working. That'd be wonderful. That would be wonderful, actually. No,
it says meeting is now streaming live on Twitch on my end. I don't know whether Zoom lives or not.
Okay, so this is how this works, right? Because of how Zoom and Twitch kind of work together, right? I don't have a direct feed straight to Twitch from Zoom. Now, if I was working on, say, StreamYard, right? I could do it. I could do it a lot. It's a lot quicker, a lot simpler. And I got it. I got it. I got Mr. Twitch. But the thing is, right? With the whole process, with the whole process of it, so I have 2 feeds. So when I first hit the button, I have to mute the Twitch feed. Otherwise, you just hear an echo.
Oh yeah, you got your sound.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So I have to mute the Twitch one. So this way I can watch for comments if comments do show up. And
oh, how fun and exciting!
Isn't that great?
That's a good time.
They gave me an award for this once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away.
In a galaxy far, far away. Everything is here and now. So it's here and now, and congratulations to you. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, once upon a time. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if I get this right. We're going to do the proper name here. Haleigh Overseth?
Correct. Yes, that's me.
That's right. She is a podcaster. I think a writer. I'm not
100%
sure. Okay, good. I want to look like I seem to have done my homework.
It's all right. You're rolling so far.
Yeah, right. She's a podcaster, a writer, and she's trying to take over the world just like I am.
100% correct. I am so glad that you are on board with world domination with me.
Pinky in the brain.
That is exactly what I was going to say. I have often been the brain looking for my pinky.
Oh, okay. So who's the insane one though? Pinky or the brain? Because if you really
let's examine that just a bit, shall we?
Because if the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again,
it's brain. Yeah. Brain is the insane one. That's why I identify with brain. Pinky is just the sweet, lovable, here to support and be the cheerleader always. We all want that ride or die friend, don't we?
We do. Actually, my favorite Christmas episode of all time is Pinky and the Brain, actually.
Oh, really? That's hilarious.
No, because it's great. Because it's actually one of the most touching things you'll ever watch. Because it's a brain scheme that actually works. That's one of the things. Like, he succeeds, but so the whole thing is they have to infiltrate the North Pole to smuggle their toys into the North Pole, so Santa will deliver them all over the world.
Oh, right? Okay.
Right. It's like it's typical Pinky and the Brain absurdity, right? But all this time, Pinky's got this letter to Santa he wants to deliver, and he never gets the chance to do it. Finally, Brain loses his shit, right, and goes
as he does.
As he does, he goes, "Give me
which is also why I identify with Brain.
Yeah.
I have the capacity to lose my shit like a boss.
Yeah. So this gets better. So Brain takes his letter from Pinky. Give me that stupid letter. Don't worry. Like, and Pinky's crying, going off. So as Pinky. The plan, this is great. So as the plan is working, it actually is working. Brain can't help himself. Okay, what did Pinky write in this letter? Dear Santa, this year I don't want anything for myself, but I want something for my friend Brain. And the letter is one of the most touching things you'll ever see. Brain ends up in tears because basically what Pinky goes to Santa's like, look, Brain tries all the time to succeed. He constantly fails over and over and over again. So for this Christmas, could it work?
Oh.
And Brain's in tears. Like,
because it's so beautiful. He just wants it to work for him. And here's the irony, though, is that, or is it irony? Well, I don't know what it says about it says about my character. That my thought is, oh, but also poor Brain. The only reason your shit worked out is because your sweet friend wished it for you, and not because you could do it.
No, but here's the thing. Brain worked hard. It succeeded. It was Brain's plan. But when Brain went to do the command, he couldn't do it. He was too caught up how emotional that, like,
Yeah.
He was so caught up in that. Instead, he just wished everybody a Merry Christmas, and it was actually so. In one,
I think there's a little bit of a message from the universe for me in that it
yeah.
is like, you got to be the pinky a little bit more than you have been the brain. You got to go to that, the energetic emotional space a little bit more than that like constant doing.
Well, not just the emotional space, but the authenticity. The thing about the
I
Pinky,
Yes.
the thing about Pinky is he's. I can't like I said. We're starting this whole conversation with Pinky and the Brain Christmas, folks. That's the important conversation here.
It's the holiday season. We're on brand. It's fine.
Yeah, well, no, like I can talk about anything on this show. It doesn't matter. It's on brand, right? So
That's my kind of thing. I stream of consciousness, follow the conversation where it goes.
Well, yeah, there's an art form to it, but by and large, that's what this show is, and so I can do that. But what I was going to say is that particular, that's my favorite Christmas episode because there's three things. One, which is hard work pays off. He did it. Like, say what you will. I mean, he won, right? First off. Second off, friendship can, the people, like, but the other part is the people that care about us touch us in ways we don't expect, And that's really cool. And there's something about someone being genuine and authentic that travels a lot farther than people realize.
I think there's something in that though that I see as being a little bit opposite to the work hard aspect, right? Like there is to me in that the element that like, yes, Pinky was being authentic, right? And this is the one time that things did work out. But it's because Pinky had that energy behind it enough to get around Brain's nonsense to some degree, right? So there's an element of your authenticity, if you can stay in it, negates the feeling of effort, so that the things that look like hard work from the external don't feel like hard work. That's where I'm looking to get myself to be, where the hard work that pays off feels effortless to me because I am in my authentic self space.
So the secret of that is just doing what you love. That is the whole of the
Right.
secret. Right.
The secret, are we going like Linda, is it Byrne? I don't know how to say it. Or the secret, or just
I've been freelancing for 3 years. And this year I am literally just under the poverty line. That might seem like a really like
but you're doing it and living the dream and you're still keeping going.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I've been seeing growth every single year. Like first year, I made nothing. The second year, I'm going into my fourth year now. I'm going into year 4 now. And when I minus the 6 months in 2020 when I had no clue what I was doing, right?
I mean, is it not good to have a little bit of that space of having no clue what you're doing?
Oh, you need it. No. You absolutely like everything. Like everything in this whole process has been like this, up and down, up and down. So this last month has been shitty for me financially. Like financially, I literally lost a 10K contract like last month.
Ouch.
Right. But can you see, if you're listening to me, I'm not like sounding very like traumatized by it, if that makes sense. Right. It's just like,
right. But that's, that is a good space to be in. Sometimes I get caught up. I don't know. Maybe you're an overthinker like me. Maybe you're not. But it's easy to get caught up in loops of old paradigm thought, right? But I do believe that like sometimes things like that happen, or things fall apart in certain ways because there's something bigger and better trying to make its way in, right?
No, absolutely no. Like, and sometimes it's like it's the universe giving you a kick in the ass, right? Like,
that too, sure, because it's good to give. If you're too comfortable, you get complacent, I suppose.
No, it's just that's how we work. Unfortunately, as a species, we need a little discomfort to grow. It's just who we are. It's just who we are. But more than that, it's just like okay, so here's the deal. I have this roller coaster up and down, up and down, up and down. I'm getting to bigger. My failures and my successes are both getting bigger.
But that's how it works.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
If you get a higher peak, you're going to have a deeper valley. That's how, that's what a wave is. And we're all
but that's it, right? So, and I realized that a lot of, and this is something I realized in my process, is that raw and shitty deal that comes with everything you do. There just is. The downside to freelancing and creativity is that the highs and lows are kind of like,
yeah.
all right. You don't have the same stability someone with a day job has, but that's the downside. And it does take a bit of a mental toll. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, the first couple days after that happened, I was like, that was an uppercut I didn't want to take to the face. But I mean, that's
well,
just, yeah.
You know, the thing is though that I think I've been noticing, at least for myself, is am I bouncing back quicker from those things, emotionally and energetically speaking? Like it not necessarily having to see a certain result or outcome show up before I get myself to a place of like, okay, now it's still going to be okay.
That's my 9th rule of success: detaching from all outcomes.
That's one of the things that I was listening to in your recent podcast episode that I thought was, that is a challenge, right? Because you have to, for me, it's always that dichotomy of holding a vision, right? And having a you can call it a goal, I suppose.
Sure.
I don't know if, but like
vision,
holding a vision of what you're going towards, but also letting go of what it has to look like specifically. It's a duality that you have to dance with in your mind a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. No, but that's the thing. Like, there's the trickiest balance, I think, I find as a person. Now, I'm 42, so I'm officially middle aged and crazy. It's just
You're officially middle aged and crazy. 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
That too.
So you must be on the verge of some grand breakthrough here. You're about to like fall off the cliff, see a suitcase that you lost years ago, forget that you're falling, and figure out that you can fly.
Yeah, that I like that. I really, really do. But no, I think what it is in my case. But what I realized was I have to be big enough to stand for something, and I have to be willing to defend that something, because it's the only way I'm going to have character. Ironically enough, it's when we actually believe in something and stand for something that we actually have anything that resembles a character in terms of like integrity and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side is we could be wrong. And that is, so it's figuring out that
well
balance.
That's just being open to playing a new character as new information presents itself, right?
Sure. No,
so
sure.
there's a certain amount of rewriting yourself every now and again that you have to do, right, as a person. And again, something that I sort of am experiencing now, and I don't know if I would say working through is the right way to say it, but along the lines of authenticity, trying to be more in a space of being okay with being seen and still feeling free to change a viewpoint or something that I said, like not holding myself to being the same character that I was even 5 minutes ago, just because I am putting myself on a platform where it is, there's a record, so to say. Does that make sense?
It's about, in that case, it's about transparency. That's all. As long as you're transparent that I have changed my mind, you can do that. It's when you don't do that people have issues. Like, as politicians change their mind all the time.
Right. They just pretend that they never did.
Yeah. That's saying that's what kills them is it's not that it's that little. If they took a moment to be a little bit like humane about the fact, like, hey, I thought this way, but now I've changed my mind, people would let them off the hook more. So, and
there's a flip side to that, though, right? And the other side to that is forgiveness. If you want to have that opportunity for yourself to be authentic and transparent and say, I did used to think this, I've changed my mind, then you have to accept that when it comes elsewhere, and you have to be able to, forgive, let go, however you want to say it, who someone used to be, and allow them to be that new person, right? It has to go both ways.
Oh, no. absolutely. The only thing about that is like the experiences happened. Like whatever experiences that led you to create this certain thing, they happen, and that has to be addressed on some level. If it's not, if again, we can pretend you can try to pretend that stuff never happened. That never works. You have to acknowledge whatever those issues are. You have to acknowledge these things happened. This is how I saw you. This is who I
Right.
saw you as. There has to be a
I mean,
moment.
you have to examine things in the light of how do you extract value. You can't go back and change it, right?
Right,
But you can
exactly.
change your perspective of it to extract a valuable lesson, to find the positive angle, to look, okay, what did we learn here? You know, so I do think that is, true, that's the issue, is that they don't have that transparency capacity. Are we getting any comments?
No comments. No comments. This has just been a one-on-one conversation, that's totally fine by me.
I was just gonna say.
Someone is watching it.
Well,
So,
hi, hello to you, and I hope you're having a most magical evening, and to everyone who ever watches it. Many magical cosmic blessings to all of you. I hope Santa brings you everything you asked for.
That's right. A partridge in a pear tree. Anyways.
That's right.
That's right.
Let's do that, because that's a fun game for me to play. So like, go off the rails. Reality doesn't matter. You can ask for anything. What would you love to get for Christmas that has nothing to do with rational reality?
Honestly, all I really want at this point is a car, van, and so I can go on the road. I'm taking the show on the road next year.
I love that. I would love to, like, my brother and I have talked about that for our podcast, Johnny Haleigh Day of Fun. Check us out. Self-promotion, because if I don't do it, nobody's gonna.
No,
but so we would love to do, like, I would love that. Get in an RV or one of those like converted Sprinter vans or whatever, and just like take your podcast equipment and just drive across the country and just see who you meet. And I think that, see, here's another message from the universe to me. You have to be able to trust that you can do those things, and that the support that you need will come, right? And really believe in what you're doing, to the extent that you're willing to throw yourself out there and expect the right things to come to you.
Well, it's more like, okay, so in my case, I came back to Calgary to reconnect with people, and that didn't work out the way I imagined it would work out. Right, it just didn't, and that's fine. Like, I'm not even going to, like, I've browbeaten the whole thing to death, so I don't need to repeat it. But one of the things is, I've had to let go of certain things here, and that has been a overall good thing. But now it's like, okay, so I'm suddenly in positions like, okay, I need to figure out how to regularly get income stream going while I'm doing this.
Right.
Think I figured out, and so that's been kind of like my challenge. Is I've been trying to teach myself how to make money doing what I'm doing, and I've come a long way. I've come a long way doing that.
See, and that is the goal, is to just let your passion, like, lead you to the right things.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not like, so okay. So personal accomplishments last year, I went to San Diego Comic-Con as a professional.
Nice, very cool,
very fun. Got my first art commission. I draw sometimes on the show, and
okay, very cool.
You're right. I wrote a novel this year. It's currently off with an agent. I meet with her next week. We'll see how that goes.
It's gonna go magically wonderfully. You're gonna get a great, excellent deal, and it's gonna be a bestseller mid-July. I'm gonna call it now.
Okay.
And when it happens, I need you to replay this episode, right? And like, make sure that you're checking up that my podcast stuff has all popped off too.
No.
I'm gonna go ahead and just manifest that, throw it out into the universe, and let it come back.
How about I make you a little deal right now? Let's say that all that magically happens exactly like you call it.
Mm-hmm.
I will come find you and your brother. I'll buy you dinner somewhere.
Oh, I love that. And we'll record a podcast, like, we'll cross promote. We'll both record a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's gonna be fantastic. I'm excited for this to happen. I can't wait for the universe to line the dominoes up the right way.
I'll make you a deal. Like, if it goes exactly that way, guess what? I'll do it.
Dinner. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll buy you dinner. Bring your brother there, so it's slightly, it looks.
Do you know what I think would be just deliciously fun? I think it would be great if we would just, it would happen the way I say it, but we like accidentally bump into each other at like a Comic-Con or something because we're both there for wonderful things having happened to us,
See,
and I get to say, "Hey, you promised me dinner."
that'd be fun.
It would be
But
fun.
but that would be fun. But see, I'm more of a believer of let's just make it happen, because I this is one thing I have learned in this life, like good, bad, or indifferent. Everything is temporary. Everything.
Everything
So,
is temporary. Change is the only constant. But that's the wonderful thing about life is that whatever you're in is, there's more variety to come.
oh sure, absolutely. I love that. That's the good. That's the great part about it. But so here's the thing. What I've learned in my, especially since coming back here, is if you don't take the time to do things when you have the opportunity, that chance may never come again. So
See, and I disagree with that. I think the universe is always throwing chances at you and calling you and waiting for you to hear
no,
it,
no, no, no. But no, chances, yes. The exact chance, not always. Sometimes I'll give you a fun. I'll give you a fun example of this.
I think I'm not bothered by that though.
It's not always, not always, but sometimes I look at it's not a bad thing in of itself, but I also think too, like like I just something I've thought about is we only have so much time with each other. Like that's just what it comes right down to. And if an opportunity comes that there's a chance to create more time, I'm a big believer in doing that. I don't necessarily believe in the power of spontaneity that way, because what I've learned is life has a tendency, or life, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, has
Yeah,
a
use
tendency,
whatever terminology works for you.
yeah, will take you wherever you're going to go. Now, that's wonderful. Now, but the thing is, there is a little bit of what I call direction. You have the ability to influence this path to some degree. You don't always get
Right.
there, right?
See,
With
that's where it sort of like becomes it's a co-creation between you and your universal self counterpart, right? Like that you can sort of get in your own way sometimes,
or
and
you do.
it
Don't.
is right. Like, and I think that is honestly my biggest issue is that I get in my own way, and sometimes the thing I'm doing to get in my own way is just telling myself the story that I'm getting in my way, and I might not necessarily be so much if I would stop telling myself that story, right?
Actually, let's dive into that just real quick. What
Let's
scare
do.
what scares you more, success or failure?
What scares me most is living a life I don't prefer. And so, in my mind, the success is to live a life that I prefer. What I know is that I have to find what that sort of feeling space is so that I can hold that feeling space to be my authentic self, right? So I guess the fear is not being my authentic self, because in the life of my preference, I am my highest authentic self.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a little bat knee. I'm gonna take a swing at the bat. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Okay.
I think of the two, I think success scares you more than failure, and here's why I think.
Okay.
Here's why I think that.
I'm not going to say you're wrong.
No,
It's a question I've asked myself recently.
okay. So, fear of success and fear of failure are fear of change. That's what they are. That's what it is when it comes right down to it. Now, here's the difference. A fear of failure is a fear that nothing you do is going to change anything. Okay? It's fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of success is suddenly you have all these things working out for you, and now there's this expectation that you can do this and do this again. And so the fear there is expectations. A little bit
Which is why you detach from the outcomes so that you don't have
somewhat.
expectations that you are
I'm harder. It's also
attached to that get in your way.
well, there's that, but there's also just I'm harder to manipulate if I'm detached from the outcome. It's not impossible, but I'm harder to manipulate. So
When you
um,
say manipulate though, where does the manipulation come from? That
because
what is that element?
the element there is what I learned from the pandemic. And what again, I'm not going to go into the big like whole pro anti whatever. But here's what I learned. This is what I observed with people. People will take an idea they have and absorb it completely. And if they do, we all have this. That's why we obsess over things somewhat. Is this,
yeah,
right? That's why we do it, and it's part of who we are. It's part of what makes us who we are, and it has great qualities to it. But the downside to it is, if let's say I embrace the idea that the sky is fuchsia, just for sake of argument, the sky is
all right.
all
Why
right?
not? I like it. Let's go with it.
Yeah. But if someone then would happen to go to me, I think the sky is blue. Now, if I'm so committed to the idea that the sky is fuchsia, I'm going to take the idea that the guy is just merely commenting on my idea, not necessarily me personally. It will be taken as an attack against myself. One of the reasons that it's really hard to talk about politics and religion today, for a lot of people.
Right, because they identify with it. It's who I am, not an idea or a concept outside of me.
They've completely bought into the idea, and this is a deeper issue, in that I think all of us deep down know that not one leader today has a shred of integrity. Not one.
See, I am someone who has just completely extracted myself from any of that. I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to those things. And so I am to the point where the fight that I am having is eternally with myself.
No. I got you. Let me finish the thought, and then we'll get into that. Okay.
All right.
So, it's not, like I said, politically speaking, I'm an atheist. I'll talk politics with people if they want to.
Politically speaking, I'm an atheist.
Yeah, because
that's fantastic.
Because
I'm going to steal that from you. I very much feel that.
Yeah, because the thing is,
none of it is useful. None of it is. It's all just smoke and mirrors, and
that's the thing. It's all an illusion, and
right.
I think deep down, all of us know it. Now, here's the part. Now, here's the part about it, right? I think what happens is when you're trying to look for what is real in a world you're not sure of what is real, you have a natural tendency to identify with a particular group or ideology, because if nothing else, you're not alone.
Sure.
Right?
There's a stability in that.
Yeah, there's a certain, and then people are looking for that. Again, it's not, I don't think that's a bad thing. But again, what it comes down to then is, okay, I can look at any part of the political spectrum and kind of go, you're full of shit. Now, again, I don't have an attachment to any party.
Right.
I'm a little more critical of who's in charge of the moment than the people not in charge at the moment, simply because they are in charge and thus are responsible for what you see. That's kind of my philosophy on it. But again, what that means is who I'm critical with right now. I'm going to be less critical if they're not in charge anymore, because it's no longer them. And as long as I'm consistent that way, I can have an opinion. So that's where I'm at. But the thing is, that's it. I'm not with the Democrats. I'm not with the Republicans. I'm not with the liberals up here, or the conservatives, or the NDP. I think you're all full of crap. And I think you're all full of crap because I know that that you'll say and do anything to get a result. And I know this because I got to watch that firsthand during the pandemic, where beyond a shadow of a doubt, I literally got to see what kind of principles my leaders have, and I was very disappointed. That's personal. So I detach from the outcome. And what that means is I'm no longer invested in the idea you represent. Now, I have my own ideas, beliefs, and stuff like that. But by having this ability to do that, what it gives me the ability to do is I can look at an idea openly and honestly and say, I could be wrong. A little doubt goes a long way, because now I'm open to listening to another idea. On the flip side,
I don't know if that's doubt. I don't know if I would call that doubt. I would just say, that's a healthy amount of, we don't all have to agree on everything in this world, because
Sure, but I think I think a little doubt's a good thing. A little. I'm not saying like soul crushing doubt. It's just the acknowledgement, just the open acknowledgement.
Right, but I'm just thinking for like the context or the connotation of doubt in my mind. For me, the language would be more that you're just, allowing for the possibility of new information to come in and adjust your perspective, right?
Sure.
So like, I don't know if I would call, I understand where you're coming from. just like for my own purposes, like the way that
Sure.
I view that is
No,
or
and
I'm practicing self-talk that has less of the any of those crushing elements in it.
but
So I, you know what I mean? So like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
part of just me being in a space that I'm in more than it is any kind of commentary on your viewpoint
Sure,
there.
no, it's
But
fair. What I would tell you is a little. As you get older, you recognize like there is the shadowy, darker stuff does have their purposes too, and you can
right.
all right. And if you can master that to some degree, you can turn even those things into a positive light.
Well,
What
that's
I
the trick, isn't it? That's the alchemy that we all are trying to accomplish in life is how do you look for the positive
Sure.
perspective, the how did I get value out of that perspective rather than focusing on the negative elements or the, well, that was shitty. Why did that have to go that way?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like I learned that like you cannot. I try not to sugarcoat too much because I find like the quicker I can hit whether I can take that kind of hit, the more resilient I become. Right,
Right.
and I would rather be more resilient, responsible, flex again,
Adaptable.
adaptable than
Yeah.
and independent. A lot of times we'll let these darker things. So a lot of people let these things crush them. It's like it's not. They don't have to crush you. They can.
Right.
And there are moments we all feel them, right?
Right.
But they're moments. So that's what I've
And it's all
learned.
temporary.
That's right.
You
It all
know,
is.
so be willing to let go of the moment even if it is a positive moment, right? Like don't
Somewhat, yeah.
I
Like
what is that? Is it Wu Wei, I think, or that concept? I don't and don't push things away, don't try to pull things towards you, like, allow things to be because the more you try to grasp onto something, the more it's gonna, run away from you, and the more you push something away, the more it's gonna come towards you, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's the pendulum swing situation.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. So I again. So when I say detach from all, I detach not just because I want to get too high or too low, so I can keep doing what I'm doing. It's also because I realize like this is how if someone's going to manipulate me in any way, shape, or form, this is how they do it. Our ideas are what we take inside ourselves are the very things that can create our own prison if we allow it. And most people don't have this. And what I found is a lot of people don't have necessarily that self awareness. Again, nobody's
No.
per. No,
And
no,
I mean, I think that's where we're at in society a little bit, isn't it? That there's certain of us who are interested in being self-aware and self-reflective and growing and adapting and becoming the new characters instead of holding on to like a certain personality trait or whatever it is, right? And then those who are out there who are just, holding fast to old things because it's more comfortable to be in the familiar than it is to expand.
yeah, I mean, we're kind of coming to an interesting. We're in an interesting point in our history because we're watching things come apart. Like is what we're doing in this time. Things are coming apart,
It's a little
and
fun, right?
well, it depends on where we go. Like this is the part that I think a lot of people have to like. We control our destiny. We all do to some degree control our own destiny.
Oh, absolutely. I believe we create our own reality, right?
Sure.
The mindset that you have is going to be the ideas that you're open to, and the things you're open to will lead to the opportunities that take you where that
Absolutely.
energy goes. So
No.
yeah, I agree with that.
So what needs to happen then is what needs to happen then is we all need to have this kind of like honest appraisal of who we are and where we're going. But again, a lot of people are like I don't know if you're on Facebook at all, or Twitter or any or X, whatever the fuck it's called today.
That right? Who knows? You gotta just roll with the punches anymore.
Yeah, so
Reality's fluid.
reality can be very fluid sometimes for sure. And
That's a very that's an exciting topic for me just in general, but we can come back to that.
yeah, what I'm gonna say is like what I'm seeing right now is I think because we don't have an honest foundation on top in terms of leadership, like some integrity somewhere would go a long way. I don't think
Here's what I'm going to say to that. I don't necessarily think that it matters a whole lot, and here's why.
Okay.
I think that the generations who are coming up below us are everything is crumbling for a reason, right? Like it's not
Sure.
sustainable. It doesn't work anymore. But the younger generations that are coming up, like think of the things that they have access to that we never had, and how the ideas and things that they're going to come up with are going to be so outside of any of the institutions that we currently are used to seeing and watching. And like they're crumbling for a reason. They're crumbling because the only way really and truly, you can't fix the broken system, right? Like you have to create a new one that makes the old one obsolete. And
Yes.
are any of the ones who are currently in our system at the top leadership in a space where they can do that? Of course not. They're too ingrained in what the system currently is. But the younger generations coming up, that they're the ones who are going to have the bright, brilliant ideas of the new ways to structure, call it government, call it what, they're the ones who are going to find the new pathways for us as humanity to be more harmonious in the way that we exist together. And that's why the current systems are falling apart.
Oh, sure. That's part of it. That's part of it. My only thing about the younger generations is this: they have way more knowledge than we had.
They do. They were born with the internet as a fact of their existence. Like I've watched the internet develop, like I remember when we didn't all have cell phones in our hand and you couldn't just ask Siri anything, like the access that they have, it boggles my mind to think if they have that level of expectation of what life should be like, what sort of things can they create from
That,
that place?
but that's my magic question with the generations coming up. They've had it, and so the big challenge they have is how many of them take it for granted. It sounds like a little bit like a middle-aged and
But
crazy
they
thing,
should
but
take it for granted, because what are some of the things that we take for granted now, right? Like electricity, clean water. The internet itself has become a thing that
mm-hmm.
is considered a necessity even by our government at this point,
Oh
right?
sure.
So I think it's a really wonderful thing that they take it for granted, because it means that they believe. Here's what it comes down to for me: the younger generations, because they did not have to work for those things or watch them develop, because they get to take things for granted, they are in a space of understanding worthiness in a way that our generations and older certainly have struggled with. And I think that's a part of why we are where we are, right? Because there's a worthiness element there that
Mm-hmm.
we have been having to learn our own worthiness, right? And sort of fight with the generations above us about, well, no, we're not supposed to just follow all the old rules just because you say so, or just because it's what's expected of us. We're supposed to follow the things that make us joyful. And we're in that space of sort of fighting with those old ideas. Whereas these young kids coming up are going to have worthiness instilled in them. And I know that a lot of times it's looked at as them being, I don't know, what would you say? Um, that they take it for granted that they're being entitled, right? Like
I
there's a
would
way
never
of
go.
looking at it as entitled, but it's
I
like
would.
I think it's a good thing that they know their own worthiness and that they deserve to have those things because they've always had those things, because it gives them a higher capacity to see the worthiness in others, right? And I think there's something so beautiful that can come out of that. I don't know what yet, but I think it's going to be great.
I would just say there's potential, and there's potential. I think this is going to come down. This is
That's
again.
that elder millennial waiting for the other shoe to drop. It can't all be
No.
sunshine and roses.
It's not even the elder millennial waiting for the shoe to drop. This is just again. This is experience. Not that the shoe is going to drop and that things are going to go necessarily to shit. I don't necessarily think that way either. But what I do think is what I have learned in this life is things never go the way we imagine them to go, both good and bad, right? Sometimes,
Right.
sometimes, sometimes, sometimes the great things about the current time, we actually don't always realize this, and we take the case in point. You're in South Dakota right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Alberta. We are approximately, I'd say, 400 miles apart, maybe a little bit more than that,
Sure.
right?
I'll trust your. I don't ask me to do distance measurements. That's not my wheelhouse.
Okay. So we'll say at least 400 miles apart.
Sure.
We'll say 400. We're having a conversation right now. That's cool.
It's cool. And not just an audio conversation, but a video conversation where I can see you, right? And
we can't make eye contact, but I mean, by and large, we're actually having a real conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, if it was in person, I probably would do a few more dirtier jokes than what I'm doing on the air. But besides that, right,
go ahead. No, rock and roll. I'm fine with it. I can roll with it.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it's one of those things where, this is cool, and this is something that the possibilities of a tool like this are amazing. And I can say again, does it work out quite the way we imagine it? Well, no, not entirely. Like I said, I can't make
here's the great thing about things not always working out how you imagine them, though, right? Is that we can only imagine based on our own experience. And so in a lot of ways, that is very limiting. So when you have an experience that doesn't work out the way that you thought it would, there is something novel in that, right? Like there's freshness and newness in it, whether it's and you can label it as positive or negative however you want, right? But if you can always look at it and say that, like, okay, well, there's an experience that I couldn't have imagined or foreseen or predicted, but that expands my capacity to imagine, right? Because it's something outside of my experience.
I'll give you a fun. I've told the story on this podcast before. I accidentally got traditionally published. Do you want to hear that story?
I accidentally got traditionally published. How can I would love very much, because I'd love to accident myself into such a thing.
Okay, so I wanted to do, so this is back in 2014. So I decided I wanted to do a poetry collection of some kind.
Okay.
Way back in the day, I got my ass kicked in Arizona. I was missing some teeth. I went through hell. Come back.
Good Lord.
I learned to survive. It became. So anyway, I decided I wanted to do a longer poem than I did in the previous poetry collection I did. So I wrote this poem called "The Watcher." It's about a slave boy in this like tower, right? And he's watching for weather. And there's this compound with dragon masters, and his family is there. It's a really it's a wild.
I love this a lot already.
Yeah. So I wrote the first chapter of this. What became the first chapter of this? I really liked it. I wanted to know what happened next. So in chapter 2, he kills his dragon master and flees into the wilderness. I'm like, okay, I gotta know what happens after that. So in chapter 3, he targets his first night alone in the wilderness after he just killed somebody. Pretty like deep stuff, and that's just 3 chapters in. So I keep going to the new world and explore. And I realized by around chapter 5 or 6 that this is my poetry collection. Screw what I was doing here. This is the real story, right? And so
I love it when things take a hard turn, right?
Well, yeah. So this is the good things. One of the good things about life not working out like you imagine it to be. I end up going. So there's this comic shop I still go to in Calgary called Another Dimension Comics.
I love it.
I go there, and I see this person I used to work at a Kinko's with has a comic out. She's illustrated. Looked at the illustration she did. I was like, this is really cool. So I asked her if she would do some illustrations for the book, including the cover. She did. They kicked all kinds of ass. So that was cool. So anyway,
I love it.
My master plan was I was going to publish this thing on Smashwords, sell it there, and go.
Okay.
Right? So I'll sell physical copies at conventions, and that was all my plan was. So I end up, so somebody buys it. Somebody I had interviewed on my website years prior to that buys it. Goes, I really like this. What are you going to do with it? And what I just told you. And she goes to me, well, I just got to deal with Ingram Spark. I'm starting a publishing house. I'll publish your book. And that is how you accidentally get self-published.
Okay, but here's what I love about that, right? Like, it seems like an accidental sort of thing, but look at all of the dominoes that had to fall for that to happen, right? Like, you had to have met that woman and known her from Kinko's to see her comic and say, oh, hey, and then to, like, this is the thing that really fascinates me, is that the sequencing of the events that get you from A to B, right? It's like you have this thing. Of course, you'd love to be traditionally published as a writer, an author, a creator, right? You have this thing that you would like to have. Could you have set those dominoes up intentionally? Of course not, right? There's no way. So that is, the space that I am practicing occupying, of just being open to the idea that there may already be dominoes that have lined up behind me that I am just not aware of, right?
The act of doing stuff opens doors. That's just the way it is. It always will be this way. It doesn't open the doors you necessarily expect at the moment you're doing them. Like, case in point,
and that's the challenge, is to be comfortable, and that's the detachment, right? The detachment from the outcomes is to be comfortable with right here and now in this moment, not understanding what the value of this thing that I'm doing is, right? But who knows at what point down the line those dominoes will start to make sense, and you can look back and say, oh, okay, if I hadn't done this thing, met that person, this or that, whatever, I wouldn't have gotten to this thing, whatever it is that happens. It's that flow of the universe energy, right? Getting into just being in that space of being open to the flow of things, and it's sort of having enough openness that when those opportunities come to you, you don't miss them, right? Because you're not looking too hard for them.
Well. Here's the thing. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm actually putting together a podcast course right now.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if I'm going to sell too many of these courses. I have no idea. I'm charging $300 for basically a course, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm putting this out there partly because, like I said, I've had my ass kicked last couple months, but it's also it helps with what I do, short term and long term. I can see I see the value of both. Short term, I find some people I can teach them some things to help get their stuff out there better. Mm-hmm. Long term, it gives me credentials.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So I can see some of those immediate benefits. Right now, long term, down the road, somebody's going to come to me with some of the books I've written, some of the shows I've done, and say, "Hey, you've changed my life." Right, and that's a possibility. I've had people come to me and go, "I hate your stupid show." It's like,
that's great too.
No,
you know what? You can hate it or you can love it, but you watched it, and that's what matters.
That's it. I've learned from the masters of polarization that honestly sometimes you want that reaction. You want either or, right? Mm-hmm. You want people to really like you, or you want people to really not stand you, and that's totally fine. I've come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to make everybody happy, and I'm willing to go with that. And honestly,
amuse thyself first, right? Like, that's the biggest thing.
It's not even that. Just embracing my inner supervillain. That's basically what it is. Like my
inner supervillain. Okay, sure.
Well, no, because bad guys have a lot of good traits, whether people realize it or not, right? There's confidence and vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I should, by the way, at 50, when I really, really am successful in swimming, I'm probably going to hire somebody to carry it. Have you ever seen Spawn's cape? Like, Spawn's obnoxious.
Oh, yeah.
It's obnoxious, isn't it? It's impractical in every way other than the fact that it looks cool.
Right, but who cares? If you can do, then do.
Well, no, not only that. I'm going to hire somebody just to carry the cape.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I mean, have a personal assistant to do whatever it is you want.
That's right, but that's going to be their primary job. Carry the cape. They're going to look at me. It's like, really? It's like, yeah.
Don't put it out to 43. Go ahead, just one more year. One more year, and you can just be in that space. Shorten the time. Collapse those quantum timelines.
Yeah. I still feel 50's right, but okay, fine. It's like it's something to aspire for. I draw the line at talking to myself in the third person. That it's just not me.
Do you?
No.
I mean, so here's my whole. I'm that. If you check out my fictional podcast, The Adventures of Abernathy Franklin, right? Like, she learns that she can travel the infinite multiverse and she keeps running into infinite versions of her, other versions of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when I'm sort of like in a space, as I embody like my other characters a little bit, and I will sort of have like the conference with my infinite selves, right? Like that's a little tool that I like to use, that somewhere there is a version of me who has already figured this shit out. Somewhere there is a version of me, somewhere in the multiverse. There's a Haleigh that already has all of the things that I think I am missing. So how do I just like invite her consciousness in over here for a meeting and be like, what would you suggest for me to do right now? And sometimes maybe that suggestion might be take a bath, and there might not be anything, immediately useful in there, right? But maybe when you're in a relaxed state, the most brilliant idea would come to you. It's kind of that thing of being open to, I don't know, this is where I'm at, playing with the idea that there are infinite versions of me, and I can occupy any of those avatars in the, in this physical reality that we think is, again, so very solid and stable and fixed, right? But really is a lot more fluid if we would allow it to be.
What is real?
Right. That's the fun question, isn't it?
Is.
And really and truly, only the things that you believe are real, because the only, like, where are you getting any of the who says what's real? I'm the one who says what's real. I believe this. And all you have, look at it. If you look at politics, this is a great way to see it, right? Someone who watches the conservative side, for example, and adheres only to that, their reality adheres to all of the belief structures that adhere to that reality. And they believe all the things that adhere to that reality. The people who are on the liberal side, they adhere to all the belief structures that, go with that reality. They're very different realities. They don't even use the same quote unquote facts, right? And you have to even say quote unquote facts anymore, because everyone will argue with you about what is real. But whatever is real to you, it doesn't matter what anyone tells you, it's real to you. So like the entirety of all of our experience is ultimately subjective.
Okay, so then that's the big question then. Is there a truth?
All truths are true to every individual in the now. So the only things that are true for you. What's true for you may not be true for me, may not be true for Joe down the street. Only the things that are true for you are true. And the interesting thing is that we pick up truths from other people and think that there are truth because we feel obligated to them, right? As part of society, or your family, your parents, your teachers, maybe it comes from pop culture or whatever. Sometimes you feel obligated to that, but that's not really your truth. And that's where we come into those spaces of having to let go of things. Well, you have to let go of the things that aren't part of your truth anymore.
So,
See, I think that we all have to operate in the same reality.
No.
But we clearly don't, because none of us do.
No. Okay, so where I'm with you is this. Everybody has a different world they live. Everybody. Doesn't matter who it is. Like, everybody does. But what I've kind of come to terms with, like I realize is that in itself, though, is if it's just that, it's very limiting, because what happens there is that then there would be whole possibilities that I couldn't see, therefore would not be real. So
right. So, but what makes them become real?
But this is where I'm going with this, right? Is now, if I do believe that there is truth out there beyond my own perceptions of what I can see, something else beyond that, that allows for all of those possibilities. I think you need truth. I think you need truth, because without truth, nothing is real.
But isn't it much more exciting for nothing to be real, because then it is so much more fluid and easy for you to manipulate yourself into something that you would prefer.
But I think,
which may or may not sound like insanity. right?
But the thing is, I think it's relatively easy. I think it's interesting. Like, okay, the idea of, okay, this is a Coke bottle, ladies and gentlemen.
I love that you're drinking a glass bottle of Coke, by the way. Those are my favorite. I don't
It,
know. My brain tells me that there's a different flavor to it, right?
yes,
Even though there
there
probably
is.
isn't.
But I think the thing is, okay, so real can be the Coke. The truth can be the bottle. Okay? And the way I look at it is like this: is that real? It is like this. If I take the Coke out of the bottle, if I take the Coke out of the bottle, the Coke will just go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It'll just go absolutely everywhere, and it won't have any shape, any form, any function. The fact that I have a structure of a bottle, hence gives a structure to the Coke.
I don't disagree with this. I'm gonna take it to the place of I agree with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is though that you can select whatever container you prefer. So that bottle doesn't have to look like a bottle. It doesn't have to, it could be a tin can, it could be something made out of, ceramic, it could be a teapot, it could be like the container in which you are placing your reality, right, does not have to hold the same shape all the time. So you can select what perception would I like to have of this situation? What truth would I like to get out of it? Right. And so that you select the container.
I I I how do I put this? I don't
I am loving this conversation, by the way. I want you to know. Like I'm very much enjoying this.
I don't entirely agree with it, but for only one reason. It comes down to the fact that ultimately it would be your experience that dictates the shape of the bottle. I tend to think,
but could you not have a new perspective of an experience that might make you say, oh, maybe that wasn't what I thought it was?
Sure. No. But again, that's that. But allowing that possibility exists too, even within that confines. But what I think though is in this with what I'm saying is, okay, it's almost like when I hear this, there's a little bit of the center of the universe argument again. In one sense, because your perceptions are the center of the universe.
Right.
Right.
You are the center of your own universe.
Yes, but I mean that's a subjective view. Objectively, an objective view is I'm one of many. How many I can't even fathom. Right? Which I think in that structure.
Can we pull this together though into, yes, you are one of many, but aren't we all connected? Aren't we all essentially, there's the oneness element to all of it, right? The idea that we are all consciousness experiencing itself from many different perspectives.
All is one and one is all. I mean, it's a very Fullmetal Alchemist. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that shit, right? All is one, one is all. There's definitely there is something about that. But the one thing I loved about that whole thing is there's two parts to this. There is a subjective view, which is the whole what is real argument in a nutshell. But then there's also an objective view, something beyond the self. And I think you need to have that. You need to have that point.
I agree. I think I agree with what you're saying, but I frame it differently in my mind. Yeah. So when I'm looking at sort of the fabric of reality, I go to the base frequency of the universe is unconditional love, right? Like the basis of the universe is a vibration of unconditional love, and that's what creates everything. And what does unconditional mean, right? It means there are no rules. There's nothing that you can say, do, be, think that can make you unworthy. You are unconditionally loved. Mm-hmm. And that's the basis of the universe. You are so unconditionally loved that you can choose to build your own prisons, right? You are allowed to do that. And because we've talked about that, right? Like your mental constructs build the prisons and the limitations that you believe you have. right? But we're allowed to do that. That's like the sort of the free will
Sure.
thing that they would talk about if from a religious standpoint, if that's where where you frame your information. But for me, it's the only meaning life or any experience has is the meaning that I assign to it. Right? So that in that way, the oneness element really is, I think, what matters. Like, we're all connected in some way. That's why you are supposed to follow your highest joy and your serious passions, right? Because whatever you feel aligned to, that's sort of like your place in the nature that is humanity. Like, we forget that we're nature every bit as much as trees and squirrels and
Sure.
all of those things. And the thing that you feel called most to do, that's you being a tree, that's you being a squirrel, that's you being the bumblebee that pollinates flowers. Like, that's your thing that you're supposed to be of most value doing, and that's why you're supposed to follow that, right?
Yeah. On the flip side, and so in the same with the same metaphor, nature has rules, and it's within those rules.
Gravity, sure.
Not just gravity, even how nature behaves towards one another. There are rules. So it's one of those things where again, there's an objective structure. Now within that structure, this is the thing, you can go, even storytelling, like storytelling is essentially 5 stories. There's 5 basic stories or every story. What makes them unique is how we tell them, right?
It's the perspective that you put on it that makes it different.
That makes it different. But fundamentally, there's the same story. But the thing is, right? It's ironic. You need rules to truly expand like what is possible. You need something to push against.
Right. But I think that we think that there's more rules than there are. I think we overcomplicate things.
I tend to agree with that. That said, I think it's one of those things, like, the thing we got to remember. I think the thing that has to be remembered is there are rules. Like, that's the thing. You have to acknowledge that these rules are there. Once you acknowledge the rules, once you ever acknowledge whatever those rules are,
right,
that's when you can start to go, now what can I do? Really do.
Right. But I'm with you on this. I think that we are talking about kind of the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think that, at least for myself, the rules element is, I know that I create more rules than are necessary.
Oh,
I know,
sure.
right? Like, I know that sure. I create more belief structures than are useful to me, right? Like, it becomes clutter at some point.
Oh, there's a we have a tendency to overthink, like, big time. Like,
yeah,
big time. Like, we go, like, okay, I had a client, I hope, put a show together, and I right, and the thing is, I'm building a show with them, and I'm like, okay. She's like, when she starts, I want it to be like this. It's like they have this big giant, like, it's like, no, we don't need any of that. We just need this, right?
And you can accomplish the same effect.
Pretty much, right? And but that comes with experience. That also comes with experience, right? You do stuff. I've done. This is episode 1036. Just
I love it. I know. I was just like, that's an impressive amount of content that you have, and kudos to you for that.
Yeah, thank you. But the thing is, I've done so many different kinds of shows, not just this, but for other clients and stuff too. It's just like, I can look at what makes a show tick and go, okay, we need this, and this. These are non-negotiables.
These are the things that have to be present.
Yes. But everything else, let's figure it out, right? And it usually takes a few episodes to really figure it out. But again, the big thing is, I would have, like, my client, she would, especially when it came to intros and outros, she's like, the content itself in the show, she's like fantastic at. She knew what she was doing, all that stuff. But the intros and outros would freeze her every single time.
Yeah.
Right. She just overthink that. It's like, you don't know, just say hi. Right. Just say hi. It's like you gotta do, right?
It's I'm gonna say, like, I'm such an overthinker too. And what is it that I need to let go of? It's to just be more natural and to let things flow in those, what is it about the elements that we overthink that
We
we,
we,
you know, we
we fear
get stuck
looking
in a loop?
we fear looking bad.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
and
that's
and
what
but
that's what it
and
is.
then I have to ask myself, for what purpose do you fear that?
Because
Because again, everyone will assign to you whatever they think, and you can't control that. So the
that
looking bad, right?
yeah,
You can't control that.
no, but you care.
You
And
care, yeah.
yeah, right, you care, and that's not entirely a bad thing. I'm not saying that it's always a healthy thing, but right, but
There's a balance, right? Like, that's what it is with all of it. The duality of human existence is to find the mid ground, the balance where,
we'll
yes,
find
I
what's
care, I have passions about this, but I can't care to the point that I'm so afraid of what people think that I don't bother to try.
I've been drawing for the last almost as long as I've started freelancing.
Mm-hmm.
I would call myself competent. I wouldn't necessarily call myself good, but I would call myself competent. I was terrified of sucking, and I had this wonderful, wonderful thought. So what if I suck? And when
Right.
right, but the
You got to have a little bit of the playfulness, right? Well,
yeah,
what happens if I do this? And if it's no good, like, well, whatever, I tried. And,
but
something will come out of it.
that's the secret to dealing with perfectionism is play. If
No,
it
I agree with that. And that's why, so I do abstract art. Like, that's another thing that I do. And the whole point of it is to just go outside of my mind. Like, we're not going for a shape, we're not going for an image, we're just gonna, sometimes things come out of it. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of making shapes and be like, oh, that's a face, and I'll turn it into a face. It's But that's again where that practicing of just being in the moment and doing what you're doing in the moment, not having an agenda, not having an attachment to a place I'm trying to go, or an outcome that I'm trying to reach, right? Just letting it flow and letting it happen. And so I suppose that's a bit where I'm at too, is that practice of how do I bring that energy of flow and not overthinking and just letting things go where they go into these other places of my life where I do tend to overthink.
the answer is, how do I make it fun?
Is how do you make it fun? That
Yeah,
is that is the eternal question that I'm asking. How can I have more fun?
that's
That
right.
is absolutely, I'm with that 100%.
Yeah, no, but that's the secret. That's how you kill perfectionism. Is it completely like that overthinking? That's how you do it. How do I make this fun? And
Yeah.
am I comfortable enough to share it? And like some cases you don't have to, but let's say like for example like a show like this, you're kind of sharing, so you're gonna have to share. So right,
And who knows what could come from, as much as there is the element of something bad could come from it, like, focus on something really great could come from it, something really amazing and unexpected could come from it.
oh,
This could be a domino that I could never have foreseen falling in the right way, right?
fair.
And I think that to some degree the expectation of the good, right, and focusing on that expectation more than that fearful element, right? Like, that's the place where you are able to spot the most opportunities, is
Well,
when you are expecting for the good things to come, right? So you're in a space where you're able to see those things that do show up, that are those positive things, because you're in a mindset of expecting good things.
well, yeah, no, like we don't. Um, I mean, mindset plays a big role in it. Like again, you do this long enough. You do this long enough, like you realize it. Like it's not all gonna work out the way you imagined it would. But like I said earlier, like I gave a great example. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing. That means that it could be better than you imagined it too.
Yeah.
It's just you have to put yourself in your job. And this is what I realized. Like the job of any artist, if they're serious about turning their craft into a living,
Mm.
your job is to give yourself the best opportunity, the best chance. So I have 12 rules of success. The fourth
Yeah.
rule is the rest is rain. Right? And that one, another way of saying that is life is inherently unfair. And the reason why I say it's like the paradox of success is this: you can do absolutely everything you know to be absolutely 100% correct to do, and still fail. Right? No, that again, because
but who defines what failure is?
If you have a goal and you don't, meet it, right, and don't meet it, like for example, like you have a definitive goal, and you don't meet that goal, and you know you've done everything you know how to do to meet that goal, you didn't succeed. Now, that
but did you not succeed, or can you look at it as maybe that goal I had wasn't the right one for me?
That's analyzed after the fact. I'm just talking about this is the full paradox. There's a paradox here, and here it is. Consequently, doing everything you know to be correct, you can still fail. Flip side is, if you don't do any of these steps, you are guaranteed to fail. The real objective, is to put yourself in the best chance to catch the rain from the sky. That's why the rest is rain. You don't know which way the rain is going to fall when you put yourself out there. When you put an episode,
see, and I'm one of those people that I'm like, dig the trenches and the rain will come.
And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But either, because life's not perfect, and life is inherently unfair. That's not a bad thing entirely.
But does that belief structure that life is inherently unfair serve you?
Yes. Here's why. Because what that also means is I have an infinite...
Because wouldn't it be a better mindset to say life is inherently full of infinite possibility with the capacity to surprise me in any facet of my life in a positive way?
Oh, sure, but there's another aspect to again, the flip side to looking at it. Saying it's unfair sounds dark, but then you think about it. It gives you the opportunity. The cool thing about that is every day is a new day. Every day is a new possibility. Every day I have a chance to do something different. Because if life was completely and totally fair, I would have to pay the full consequences for some of the mistakes I've made in my life. I'm not sure I'd be here if that was the case. And that's just me being very honest about that.
No, I think no, but that's true. I think that maybe it's just, again, this is where language becomes limited, right? Because we all have certain connotations of words. And so when you say unfair, there's a connotation of you're bound to get your ass kicked, you know?
No. It's a possibility. And but again, it's fair in that it's unfair. It's not like there's this malicious, evil intention to go out there. But I can do everything I know how to do.
Life doesn't follow the logic, right?
No.
The things that you plan, you can't account for everything, because life is full of infinite possibilities, right? And anything can happen.
Right, and that's part of it. That's part of it too, right? Again, sometimes it works better than you plan. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. Consequently, but that effort to go out there and do those things is required regardless. Because if you don't do those things, you are guaranteed to fail. The old Wayne Gretzky said it best.
Right, but it's that play element, right? Like, what happens if I do this? We'll go out and do it and see.
Yeah, exactly. That's the play element. But it's also just, that's reality. So your objective, the real objective you have, and this goes with what I was saying at the beginning, is to put yourself out there and give yourself the best chance to succeed, whatever that looks like. Give yourself your best chance. It may not work. You have to accept that. If you can do that, but if
you can say that it doesn't have to work in order for me to feel that I've done the right thing in putting it out there, you know, like it's that mindset and that energy of the particular outcome does not need to transpire in order for me to be happy within myself that I chose to try. Right.
Like I said, my podcast course, I have a good number in my head I'd like to hit. Will I hit that number? I don't know. I don't think so, as the way things are going right this minute. but I still might. I mean, who can say what tomorrow will bring? What I can do and what I am doing is I'm putting myself out there and giving myself the biggest possible chance to succeed. Right? That I know what to do. When we're done this conversation, I'm going to be filming my first 2 modules tonight, at least the first parts of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then tomorrow I'm going to and it's the same thing. I'm going to keep advertising. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm going to put myself out there in as many ways as I can. Now, when next week hits, I evaluate. I evaluate accordingly, and then go from there.
That's the thing of all of it, right? As long as you continue to do whatever it is you're choosing to do, there's going to be an evolution of it, right?
Absolutely.
You can have a general, like, this is where I'm trying to go and where I'd like to evolve, but allow it to, it is a lot like writing a story, right? And it's a lot like when you are writing, there's a certain amount of it that feels like, maybe channeling is a way to say it, but where things are flowing in a way that you start to follow the story as it happens, right? Like characters start to tell you who they are and what they would do and how they would behave, right? And it's unfolding for you as much as it would be for someone who is reading it, you can have a general idea of where you're going, but if your story tells you that, no, actually this character is supposed to die, and you'd be like, shit, really, I like that one, but like, nope, this one's and there's, sometimes a story takes you to those places where it's like, yeah, no, this is the way it's meant to go, and I thought that I wanted it this way, but it doesn't work. And it's again that adaptability to let yourself go where the story is taking you when, in terms of writing. You have to have that ability in life to go where the project is taking you, go where that interest is taking you, that curiosity, that thing you're trying to do. Yes, it's good to, like, you got to go out and do the things, because if you don't do the things, you may not find where that hard left turn is that takes you into something bigger and better that you couldn't have foreseen.
Well, if you don't do that thing, your chance of finding it is practically zero. The world very rarely comes to you. Right?
Right. You got to put things out there and try. But I think at the same time, that it's the putting yourself out there and the being authentic that does get the world to start to come to you.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Right? It's that yin and yang back and forth, right?
Oh, no, absolutely. It's one of those things where you have to learn to be like, you got to figure out what that is. Like I said, I truly believe that everybody has something to offer the world, but you got to figure out what that is. Well, you got to figure out what that is for yourself. And again, for everybody, that's a little different. So in my case, like, I want to tell stories and I want to help people tell theirs. Like, we've been having this conversation for nearly 90 minutes so far, and that's
oh my, is that really for true?
Yeah, is that really for true?
That is for true. That went real. Time flies when you're having a good time.
It does. Right? But that's the whole point. Like, this is what I do. So my whole thing is, okay, how do I, and again, this is something I've been struggling with as a freelancer, not only just make a living for myself, but how do I best serve other people? How do I make a living doing this?
I think the trick to that, and again, where we overthink, is that your highest service is your highest joy. Because when you're doing the thing that you are most joyful about, that's when you're going to do the best work that you can do. Yes. When you're in that space of loving what you're doing, that's when you're going to do the best things you possibly could do. And so that is your highest service to the world and to humanity, is to be that authentic you, and to follow those authentic passions, right? Because that is where you're going to do the best at whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And there's an audience for everyone, I believe, because I mean, there's billions of people on this planet. Like,
oh, absolutely.
There's no such thing as not enough to go around.
I mean, from a podcast listening perspective, I mean, during the summer, I got to 2,000 downloads a week for a little bit there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's just bump that up to 5,000 listens per week on the regular.
Sure.
As like a baseline. Thank you, universe.
Yes.
And if I'm right about that, I get dessert too.
Oh, you get dessert too. Well, you
I
see,
like cheesecake and flan.
cheesecake and flan. Okay, gotcha,
Mm-hmm.
gotcha. I had you as an ice cream girl, but that's okay.
Oh, nope. I like them. I like the density of like a cheesecake or a flan. It's a
Okay,
texture thing.
it's a texture thing. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
gotcha. There a cheesecake factory in your neck of the woods?
There's not, very sadly. So I tell you, it's all right. There's, I'm also manifesting from the universe that I will switch locations very soon in ways
Where,
I could not have foreseen, to places that maybe I did not expect. So
where would you like to go?
I would like to go somewhere that is warmer for the winter, please. That's where I'd like to go. Where is that? What does that look like? I don't necessarily know. I
Okay.
would love to go visit Sedona. That's kind of like one of those things that's on my list. Sedona, Arizona.
Yeah, I used to live by there a long time ago.
Where?
Snowflake, Arizona.
Snowflake, Arizona. You went to the one place that still had a piece of winter in Arizona.
Yes, I did.
Snowflake. That's pretty great.
Yeah, I did. Actually, that whole area does have a piece of winter up there. You get to the northern part of Arizona, it does get pretty wintry up there. It's not as wintry as, say, here.
I was going to say, yeah, I've lived in North Dakota too, so like not quite so bad here in southern South Dakota and Sioux Falls area of that, but y'all know what cold is where you're at. You know what? Yeah, you know what winter is.
I do. I do. That's why I laugh at people that are not from this neck of the woods. The only people I can't make fun of are people from Manitoba.
Oh, because they just have like what the worst
We
of the winter.
They can get to -60. -40 is as cold as it gets here.
Oh no, there's even when I was in Fargo, you could get a -60 wind chill. That's the thing about
Fargo is right to the border of Manitoba.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, especially when you're like flat and there's nothing blocking the wind, like that can get nasty.
No. So
You're really talking me up into wanting the universe to take me somewhere warmer, I gotta say.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, like, yeah, Calgary can get to -40 and usually does for like 2 weeks of the year on average. We've had a mild winter here for here. Like
we have too, and super grateful for it because I'm again, not a fan in the moment of it. I love my knitting, I really do, but I'd prefer not to have to.
So I was, like I said, in San Diego for the summer. Like if I were to live in California, that would be where I'd
That
live.
would, yeah, no, I would love to go to San Diego, that area, just like beautiful weather and fun comedy scene. Want to check that out?
Good rap scene too, comic book scene.
Yeah, no, like I think that would be a lot of fun. So again, I'm that's where I'm at. I'm in the space of I trust that the universe is putting the dominoes together for me, and that maybe there are things I have already lined up that I don't know about,
Sure.
and I could be happily surprised with.
Sure. Okay, so
Because I would love for you to have to buy me dinner and dessert because I was correct. I think that would just really make me the happiest to be able to say that I got dinner and dessert because I was right. Could there be anything better?
If I get to five, I was gonna say if I got to 5,000 listeners a week, I probably would have bought you a second dinner. But I mean, if you want to negotiate yourself, so just dessert.
Oh, I can negotiate myself into big. Like, can I negotiate myself into a Range Rover or something? Like, how many listeners do we need to get for that? Like, I will manifest like a madman.
It'd have to be 20,000 because at 20,000,
20,000 a week. I'm gonna shoot. Here's what I will shoot for: 50,000 a week. Okay. I want a Range Rover and a beach house. Yeah, I'm just gonna. If you're gonna let me up the ante and keep negotiating my way up, I will continue to do it.
This is what 50,000 gets you a Range Rover and a dinner. I'd have the money I'd have to be pulling in from that point would have to be absurd, like absurd.
I enjoy absurdity quite a lot. So universe, whatever absurd amount of money you can please do drop on my friend so that we can have this conversation about my rightness later, which will be so much fun for me. I will just enjoy it to no end. So I hope you make plenty of food for yourself. You won't get a word in edgewise. You better just be shoveling in the food because I'm going to just be talking about how, didn't I tell you this is how it was going to happen? Didn't I say so? Didn't I tell you the universe lined up those dominoes? I'm going to get a set of dominoes and bring it to the dinner table. And I'm going to set up dominoes before they bring any food to us and let the waitress knock them over with your plate.
Okay.
You like that? That's how we're gonna do it. That's the visual
funny.
I'm creating.
That's good. I'm in. No, it's been no, like I said, like for me, like I know the ups will come again. Like it's just been one of those like, and it's like even today.
We all signed up for this human roller coaster, didn't we?
Well, it's funny because some of the things I helped with, there was somebody I talked to. She actually was taking care of her mom who is suffering from dementia, right?
Oh.
And I talked to her because I understood what she was going through a little bit because my grandfather was suffering dementia, and my grandmother was taking care of him, and I saw what it did to her.
Right, because they're not the person that they used to be, right?
No, and that's a hard thing to accept. But the other hard thing about it is the constant, like it's almost like when they get to a certain point in dementia, and like it's almost like you're raising a kid again, but unlike a kid who's growing up into what they're going
it's
to become,
regression. Yeah,
it's regression. That's brutal. Like I mean, people that have tried, like she wanted to try to do this for her own. And I told her when I saw her twice. The first time I told her, it's like, look, there's going to come a time when you're not going to be able to do this anymore. I just told her, it's like, you're going to hit a moment. There's going to be a point where you're going to break. Mm-hmm. And it's fine when you, like, be honest with yourself when you hit that point. And I talked to her in August, and she was hitting that point. Right. She was hitting that point, and I told her then, it's like, okay, because again, she told me some things. Again, I'm not going to say them here because a lot of people that have never been through that kind of experience wouldn't necessarily understand it. And it was just like, okay, you got to let her go. And I gave her like kind of like a strategy to help her. And she contacted me today. It's like, yeah, her mom's finally in a home somewhere, and
sometimes you have to leave it to the people who are, because again,
yeah,
leave it to the people who are doing it because they can do it and because they want to be there and because that's what they're good at, and don't expect of yourself that you have to be that when there are other people who can be that.
Oh, absolutely. That was part of it. She needed to do that for herself. I think the seed that go through this herself once or twice. She's mourning it a little bit now, which I think that's totally a reasonable space to be in at this moment in time. But it was funny because I was just there. I just listened to her. I let her talk when she needed to talk, and I helped her out a little bit. And it's like, okay, that's an interesting domino that's come around. Had another domino kind of happen today. Like I'm going to be trying to figure out how to get to Denver maybe in February. We'll see how that kind of works out.
Very cool.
Yeah. Buddy of mine is going to be filming a movie. I'd like to actually just
have fun.
Yeah. So he's a buddy of mine. I've wanted to see him do stuff for a long time. So he's finally going to do it. And I would love to go visit him. I'm not sure how that's going to make this work yet, but I also...
Well, just again, manifest that it happens and magically you're able to go. All of my stuff is also popping off, so I have complete freedom to say, yeah, I'll meet you in Denver because it's close to where I'm at, or I will be further away and it'll just be like things are going so well that it's easy for me to travel, and I'll come say hi while you're filming and it'll be a good time.
Yeah,
and that's when you can buy me dinner.
Yeah, no.
So by the time this happens, listeners out there in the world, you better get on. If y'all don't help me get a slice of cheesecake, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. So Twitch people, get on your stuff. Call your cousins, call your friends, tell everybody you used to go to school with. Get on it.
So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to looks like I'm going to be buying dinner at some point this year somewhere in the United States.
Unless I get a passport and for some reason it ends up that we're both in France. Who knows? Right? Again, if I'm allowed to continue to negotiate up, I will. Don't make me say that we're going to be having dinner on Jupiter. We'll get there. I will take it there.
Yeah, oh, sure. that one might take a while, but sure.
Who knows? who knows what sort of fun stuff all the people who are trying to get into space, who have all the money in the world, are doing, that, maybe I could stumble onto a free ride to Jupiter.
Oh, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Right. I truly do believe that. I think though, this is how I think then we're gonna get to the plugs and stuff like that, because I've had a wonderful time, but I have to.
Yes, this has been great.
But I would say this, Miss Haleigh, you have a good mind full of possibilities. I've enjoyed this chat. If I were to suggest anything to you after listening to you for a little bit, right? The only thing I would say, maybe you got this clear vision of where you want to go. I kind of feel like you're somewhere between.
Oh yeah. I have the vision.
Then hold true to that.
Releasing releasing it to the universe, right? The trusting of the flow and the process. Mm-hmm. That is the. Do I want to say challenge? That's the intention.
Yep. And someday it's okay to say challenge. It's okay to say like we mentioned some words here: doubt, unfairness, right?
Right.
We mentioned
letting go of some connotations that maybe are not necessary.
What I go so far, like, here's the thing. Okay, so we're talking about real and interpretation, right? Those words do have darker connotations than other words, for sure. Mm-hmm. But I have a tendency to think that so I'm a Switchfoot fan. One of my favorite songs of theirs.
Sure.
One of my favorite songs of theirs is "The Shadow Proves the Sunshine." Right.
And that is valid. You can't have a villain without a hero. You can't have a hero to root for without a villain.
That's true. But
it's all necessary.
But let's go to the psychology shadow for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The idea of acknowledging those darker connotations doesn't in of itself mean it's dark. It just right. It doesn't in of itself. It means it's dark.
Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's something to be pushed away from yourself.
Exactly. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay. Like doubt in a sense.
Contrast is necessary.
Yes. Like I said, like we mentioned earlier, doubt, having the possibility that you could be wrong. That's healthy. Unfairness. Life doesn't always go the way you planned it. Trust me. Based on some of my half-cocked plans, that's a good thing, right?
I mean, yeah. There's some things that I wish would have gone more wrong more quickly, so that I could, so that it could have been like, well, I wasted a lot more time on that than I needed to.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's true.
Right. So just all I'm saying is, based on this, those darker things aren't necessarily bad things. Again, too much of anything, like, right? It's easy.
Well, it's see that as, you can't see the stars when the sun is out, right? But the stars are beautiful too.
Exactly. So it's okay. And you'll find, and honestly, this is what I found. I'm oddly happier acknowledging.
No, yeah, because when you take away the fear element of them, right? When it just becomes, that is a part of this game that we play. Then it is a game, and it's easier to look for the fun.
Exactly. So what do you want to talk about? What do you want to plug? You've done some little bits of self plugs. We're at the end of the presentation.
Oh, okay. We're at the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for watching. Turn on the Barbie tour guide, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, so some of my podcasts, I do have The Adventures of Abernathy Franklin. That's one of my fictional podcasts. No Small Stories. We're interviewing a lot of fun people on there. We had like Mark Christopher Lawrence and BZ Collins recently, who were like super duper fun. And Johnny Haley, Day of Fun's another podcast, and my Frankie 411 podcast. And I can give you my link tree. You can put it wherever in the descriptions and the stuff that you find it. But h.overseth on Instagram. I'm on the Facebooks, not very frequently, but go find me over there. And yeah, come check me out. I think I'm a lot of fun, and I have so very much enjoyed this. My good friend, Joshua or Josh? Do we have a preference?
We actually do not, but most people call me Josh.
Okay, Josh, this has been fantastic. I do like Joshua though.
Oh, you can call me Joshua.
Okay.
I don't. You can no. I don't get called it as often, but I will respond. I don't hate it. So
I don't hate it.
No.
That's good.
No. No, it's because I get called it so infrequently. It's odd at first, and then I just
well, see, but that's the thing that I kind of like about being the person who does that. It's more unique and it's more like gets your attention a little bit more.
Yeah, no, it does.
And what does that say about me?
No, like Joshua is how I introduce myself professionally, and I don't know, right? It's my professional
well, there you
name,
go.
right? And because Josh is fun, but Josh is just how people. That's what
I mean, you could really expand it if you wanted to. Lord Joshua of the podcast kingdom, something like that. Start to get real colorful.
Joshua the obnoxious, complete with a bread cape. That's what. That
you know what? I like it. Go and be obnoxious. I'm a fire sign. I'm a Sagittarius. I'm with it.
Okay.
Bring that obnoxious energy.
So I've been roped into buying dinner at some point this year. Probably will.
You have been roped into magnificent manifestations coming your way, for which you will be so joyful that you will want to buy dinner.
That's right. No,
there we go.
And so rule 6: be thankful.
Yes.
Be grateful. Be charitable. That's actually the rule. So always.
I love it.
Yeah. I'll just give you my 12 rules at some point. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time. Hold on a second here. And let's